Good morning, this is Dr. Turner for Integrated Math 1. Today we're going to be looking at 6.5, which is looking at scatter plots. Scatter plots are a set of data that we're looking at that don't have a specific function that's assigned to their points. In other words, we can't draw a line, whether it's a straight line or a curved line like our exponential functions. A line's not going to fit through the points. So because of that, we look at the data in less specific terms. We want to see, is there some type of relationship between these two values that we're comparing, or is there not a value? Specifically, we call that relationship a correlation. So, if I have a graph, let's say something like something like this. Okay. If I have points that are sort of all over the place, here, 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 if there's no line that I can really draw between those points, we say that that is an example of what is known as no correlation. There's no real relationship between those two values. Now, on a graph, typically you'll have labels here. So it might be comparing something like shoe size to the amount of time that you spend on video games, right? Two variables that have no relationship, one does not affect the other, and so that is an example of no correlation. That is something that you could be asked to show on a test of, give an example of no correlation, for instance. And then other times, there is some type of relationship between those two values. So let's say we have a graph that looks something like this. So even though I couldn't draw a line through all of those data points, there's definitely some type of relationship. As one is increasing, the other is increasing. And so that would be an example of what we refer to as positive correlation. And lastly, if as one is increasing, the other is decreasing, then that's referred to as negative correlation. So half your assignment is just being able to do that. Identify, looking at a graph, is the relationship positive, negative, or is there no correlation between the two variables? So that's half your assignment. Now some variables are going to have a stronger correlation than others. One might slightly influence the other variable, one might significantly influence the other variable. And so we have this concept, what's known as a correlation coefficient. And correlation coefficients, typically in most textbooks, are going to be referred to by the variable r. So r is our correlation coefficient. Now, in a world where the data points are just completely all over the place and there's no correlation at all, we say the correlation coefficient is 0. There's no relationship at all between the two. If, let's say, I was able to take my two variables, bear with me here, and let's say the points were more or less almost exactly in a straight line. If I could draw a line through my points on a scatter plot and it was a perfect line, that would represent a correlation coefficient of 1. It's a perfect positive relationship. And vice versa, if I could draw a straight line through the points and it was going straight down, or have a negative slope, then that would represent a correlation coefficient of -1. Okay. Now, there are ways to calculate the correlation coefficient. We'll talk about that a little bit more in Math 3 of exactly how to calculate that R value. But for now in Integrated Math 1, what you're asked to do is basically say, you know, is there no relationship? Is there some relationship? Or is there a strong relationship? So looking at the examples up here, yes, there is definitely a positive relationship. One is sort of increasing as the other is, but it's not exactly a straight line, right? Because they're sort of scattered a bit. So we would say that's closer to 0.5. There is a relationship, but it's not strong. And vice versa with negative correlation. If I can't draw a straight line through it, there is some negative correlation, but it's not strong. So we'd say that's -0.5. So your two things that you're asked to do for this assignment is A, look at a graph and tell me, is it positive correlation, negative correlation, or no correlation? Or given a graph, you'll be asked to identify what's the correlation coefficient closest to. So 1, if you can draw a straight line through it and it's positive. 0.5 if it's kind of going up but not a straight line. 0 if there's no correlation. -0.5 if it's kind of going down but not a straight line. And -1 if it's a straight line. So you're just asked to, looking at a graph, identify what's the closest correlation coefficient to the given graph. That's all for today. If you guys have any questions, please reach out to me during office hours. Otherwise, have a good day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.